Hey, thanks for clicking on my video. If this video helps you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. It is greatly appreciated and it really helps. Let's get to the video. Let's find some trig values for special angles. So in this video, we're going to focus on the two special right triangles, 45, 45, 90 and 30, 60, 90. So we have a table set up with theta on the left, and that's going to represent our angle measure, and we're looking at 30, 45, and 60. And we're going to run through each of our 6 trig ratios for each of these angles. So let's start with 30 degrees and let's just work our way across the table horizontally. So for 30 degrees, let's highlight our 30-degree angle. There it is. And for sine, we're going to work opposite over hypotenuse, right? So we can remember our helpful acronym SOHCAHTOA, and that'll help us to know what our ratio should be. So for sine, we're going to go opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. All right, now cosine, we have adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of 30 would be root 3 over 2. Tangent would be opposite over adjacent. So this is going to be 1 over the square root of 3. Now we can't leave root 3 in the denominator, so we have to rationalize that. So that's going to be root 3 times root 3. And that's going to end up giving us root 3 over 3 once we simplify. So just for the sake of space here, I'm going to erase this, and our final answer would be root 3 over 3. Okay? Now, for cosecant, secant, and cotangent, those are the inverses of the 3 ratios that we just found. So cosecant is the inverse of sine, so that's going to be 2 over 1, which would just be 2. Secant is the inverse of cosine, so this is going to be 2 over root 3. And once again, we have to rationalize this denominator. So our denominator is going to be 3, but our numerator is going to be 2 root 3. So we're going to erase and write our final ratio there. So this would be 2 root 3 over 3. All right, now for cotangent, it's going to be the inverse of tangent. So this is 3 over root 3. So now we got to multiply by root 3 over root 3. And now this would be 3 root 3 over 3. Well, now we have, so let's write that, 3 root 3 over 3. So we have 3 root 3 over 3. And now notice our 3 there in the numerator outside the radical, and our 3 in the denominator will cancel out, right? It's like 3 divided by 3, which is 1. So essentially our final answer is just the square root of 3. So we'll write that a little bit bigger. All right, so for our 30 degrees, those are our 6 trig values there. All right, so now let's go to 45 degrees. So now we're going to move over to our 45, 45, 90, and it really doesn't matter which angle we highlight. We're going to end up with the same ratio either way because of it being an isosceles triangle. All right, so sine for 45, we have opposite over hypotenuse. So for right now, let's just focus on the one 45-degree angle so we don't confuse ourselves. So opposite over hypotenuse, this is going to be 1 over the square root of 2. So we have to rationalize root 2 over 2. And we're going to end up with just root 2 over 2. So we'll erase that, square root of 2 over 2. All right, cosine of 45, we have adjacent over hypotenuse. So once again, we are going to end up with 1 over the square root of 2. So we're going to end up with the same thing for sine. So cosine of 45 is the same as sine of 45. We have root 2 over 2. Now tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that's just going to be 1 over 1. So the tangent of 45 is just 1. Now cosecant, secant, cotangent, we're going to find the inverse. So cosecant and secant should be the same thing. So now we're going to do, we have root 2 over 2. So now it's going to be 2 over root 2. And now we can simplify that. So root 2 times root 2. So we're going to end up getting 2 root 2 over 2. So the 2's will cancel out. So we're just left with root 2 for cosecant. Now another way to look at that, since secant's going to have the same value here, what was cosine before we had to rationalize the denominator? Well, cosine before we rationalized was 1 over root 2. So if we go with that and then now take the reciprocal, that's another way we could find the value of secant and cosecant being just root 2. Okay, now for cotangent, we are just going to take the inverse of 1, so that's still going to be 1. Okay, so we have our values there for our 45-degree angle. And now lastly, let's do 60 degrees. So now we're going to go back over here to our 30, 60, 90, and let's highlight 60 degrees. Okay, so sine of 60, we're going opposite over hypotenuse. So this is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. And now let's go to cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is going to be 1 over 2. And now for tangent, we're going opposite over adjacent. So this is just going to be root 3 over 1, or in this case, just root 3. All right, so now for cosecant and secant and cotangent, taking the inverse of the three ratios we just found. So cosecant would be the inverse of sine, so this is going to be 2 over root 3. So now let's rationalize by multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. So we're going to end up with 2 root 3 over 3. So we'll change that, 2 root 3 over 3. Now for secant, it's just the inverse of 1/2, so that'd be 2. And for cotangent, we have the inverse of tangent. So this is going to be 1 over root 3. So we rationalize by multiplying top and bottom by the square root of 3. So we end up with just root 3 over 3. Root 3 over 3. Okay, so that's our table that we could fill out to help us find all 6 of our trig values for those special angles for our 30, 60, 90 right triangle, so 30 and 60 degrees, and also our 45, 45, 90 degrees, so our 45 degree angles.